Doesn't sound like her speaker is on, or maybe she's muted.
She's muted. She's on mute right now and on via telephone.
She's on the telephone, okay. So she can hear me, but she can't speak to me.
It's not showing that she's connected via the computer. I'm just seeing under the attendees list that she's connected via the phone.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Is that Robert?
Yep, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
hi Rick. Is this the only way to, well, obviously you have a way to get in otherwise. But is this the only alternative is using the phone?
I believe
Yeah.
so, other than through the computer.
Yeah, I'm not that smart yet, I guess.
So, but yours is working fine, it sounds like. You can hear us and we can hear you.
I got the phone working and I got the video. I still haven't figured out how to coordinate the two.
Oh, so you're actually speaking to us through the phone and watching us on the video?
That's correct.
Okay, right.
That's okay.
So, Robert, this is Mary Amos. If you want to try to use your computer, if you see a menu bar, there would be a tab for audio where you can select computer. And if you don't see the full menu bar, you might see an orange arrow.
Let's see here. Orange arrow. No, my whole page just disappeared. I've got the video showing, but I don't have any of the other information.
Okay, well, we're seeing and hearing you fine, so you don't need to switch unless you wanted to.
In
Mary, I'll have a conversation with you about this.
Okay.
Okay.
On mine, what I see is a microphone that I click on that's and it turns green. And that is how mine connects to the audio.
Yeah. If you turn it off, it goes red.
Okay. It says I disappeared again in terms of the visual. And it says I'm connected and go to the meeting, but now it's not letting me do that.
Well, you're still connected with us.
Yeah, that's strange.
It's probably just minimized or behind something on your screen, perhaps.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'd like to get started. If we could begin with introductions. I'll just tell you who I am. I'm Rick Reed. I'm Chair of Business and Leadership. I'm happy that each of you was able to attend today, and I'll try to do this alphabetically. Mary Amos, if you're on the phone, would you please give us a short introduction?
Hi, this is Mary Amos. I'm Mary Amos.
That's Mary's phone.
Anybody else that's on, please mute your phones.
Sorry about that.
Okay, Mary, Mary, you want to try again?
I'm currently teaching computer-based concepts.
Okay, Mary, you finished?
Yep.
Okay. Robert, on Bruce.
What did she say?
It was garbled.
Don't try and get out of it.
Okay.
I found a mic, Mary. I found a mic and speaker, but I don't have a mic.
Okay.
So use the phone.
All right. How about
Teach me.
let's move on to Robert Bradley. Professor
Are you on, Robert?
Professor Bradley, you on there? I know he arrived.
He indicated he needed to.
Okay, Angela, how about you?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
My name is Angela Barnes, and I work out of the Florida Center.
Okay. Rick Chaffee?
Okay, I'm Rick Chaffee. I live in Florida. My connection is with the Cincinnati Center. I teach in the business management and leadership program. And I've begun to play golf for the first time in 50 years, and I'm surprised at how much my muscle memory remembers the sweetness of a golf swing.
Thank you. Len Chapman.
Yes, hi, it's Len Chapman speaking. I teach the STAT courses in the business area and the general ed area. And the thing that I'd like you to remember about me is I've been associated with the union for about 30 years.
Wow.
Thank you. Amy Hart, are you on the line? Okay, John Hawes. I know you're there because you typed in a chat.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'm here and I'm pleased to be able to attend.
All right, thank you. Kim Jackson, you on the line? All right, John Murphy.
Yes, John Murphy. I'm an adjunct professor in business management, currently teaching organizational behavior, and will be teaching business strategy next semester.
Thank you. Robert Spinelli.
Hi, this is Bob. I'm an adjunct also, teaching the business and leadership programs, 4 different courses total. I'm in Rochester, New York.
Thank you. Anybody I missed? All right. We're going to put up the slides. And I'm going to have to take me down. All right.
Can you make those bigger?
Thank you for the introductions, everyone. We're going to, by the way, this webinar is being recorded, and I'll have it uploaded to my groups at the end of the session. We'd like for you to hold your questions to the end, but you can always type questions in the chat section, which is at the bottom right on the menu. The big piece tonight we're going to go through, or this afternoon, is the Kolb model to engage students and to use it with the forums and help us to reach the student-faculty contact hour requirements, which are driven by the Department of Education. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Professor Rick Chaffee, who's going to take us through the Kolb model, and we're on slide number 4.
Okay. I'm not able to see the numbers.
Well, it's slide 4.
Okay, I'm trying to minimize my.
Rick, could you put it in screen show mode so it will?
I did have it in screen share mode, but for some reason it's not coming up. Hold on here.
The little icon down right by the 110% there.
It should be on. I know you're not seeing it because I don't see it.
Rick, we're seeing your screen, but I think you're clicking the wrong button instead of actually going into slideshow. I think you're clicking the GoToMeeting share screen.
I'm trying to minimize the screen.
I have clicked on that, but it's not coming up.
Okay, we're seeing your screen. If you want to go to where it says on the top menu of your PowerPoint slideshow.
Or just right by the 110% there. That's the button right
For
there.
making it bigger.
I have it on screen sharing now, but it's not coming up.
Hey, Rick, Teresa's going to come down and see if she can help you real quick.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
So it almost looks like you could make that bigger, but
Yeah, I don't know why this. I don't know why the screen sharing is not coming up.
We're seeing it. I think
Yeah, it's it's just the PowerPoint button. It doesn't seem like either is not working or you're not pushing it. It's just the little PowerPoint button that you write down by 110% in the lower right-hand side of your screen, the one right
I
next
don't
to
know why
it.
it's not
Hit
coming
that,
up.
we'll turn it into screen show mode. Nope. Get down. Yeah, keep going. Over. Nope, not that one.
So I hit that up there. It's not coming up.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever
One,
done.
two buttons to the right of that one.
Goodness.
We'll turn it into screen show mode.
You want to sit down?
Oh, you got that.
Hold on, we're under construction here.
He's got the highlighter
All
on.
I ever do is hit this over here, hit them up,
Yeah.
and it comes up, and it's not coming up for some reason.
There we go. Turn it up where? There we go. Now it's full screen.
That's the one.
You see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can see what they see.
Well, I know that, but I don't want
Can
you to
everybody
come.
hear my voice now?
Yes, Rick, we hear you.
Well, wait a minute, I think I've lost my advance. No, there I go. Okay, I got it.
Space bar. That'll be
Okay,
So, on the fourth screen, I'm introducing a model for adult experiential learning that we found in the business and leadership program has been particularly effective at helping us develop our forums and student contact time and engaging our adult learners in with the material that we're teaching. And it's an exciting process, but for me, it makes teaching extraordinarily fun and connects me with my students in a way that I had never experienced before. So here's the basic model, the basic cold model. Go back one. So this is the basic cold model. It starts with a concrete experience. And then there's this movement to reflecting about something that's happened that seems different somehow. And we end up searching for some ways of explaining this new understanding we have. It's called unpacking or formulating what just took place into some abstract concept or theory. And then we test it again. For example, let me just give you an example. A young supervisor goes to his manager, and the manager tells him, "You don't need to keep coming back to me all the time. You know this department better than I do. You know your people better than I do. You know what you're supposed to be doing even better than I do. I trust you to be handling decisions in a way that you think is most appropriate, and only if something extraordinary comes up do you need to check in with me." And as this young supervisor is leaving the meeting, he has this sense of, I would do anything for this guy. I'm so inspired that he trusts me in this way. And as he's heading back to working with his first line employees, he says, "You know, I'm so motivated by what just happened, and I've never tried it with my own people." So there's this concept, this formulation that's taken place, that not only do you support, it's important to support your people and to give direction to your people, but he's never thought of trusting and leaving some of your best people alone would be the highest compliment, the most energizing and motivating thing that they could do with them. And so we're now down at this abstract concept at the bottom of the cycle, and now he's going to test it. We move clockwise to the blue to experimenting. He's going to try it with one of his best employees. That then creates a new concrete experience from the results he gets, in which he does a reflection, and it deepens or corrects this formulation, this concept, this theory that he has come to from his own experience. So that's an example of how the cold model represents the way adults learn. So move to the next, slide number 5. So why are we using the cold model in our courses? First of all, because our learners here are older. We tend, our average student here, from some research we did, is 39 years old. Most of our students have years of experience in organizations. In most cases, we can connect the concepts and theories that we're teaching with the life experience of these students. Number 6 slide. The more relevant we can make these concepts and theories to the experiences of our adults, the more motivated they are. And when that happens, it creates a readiness among adult learners to learn. So that's some of the reasons why we use this kind of experiential model of learning. So it begins with a concrete experience. Something unusual has taken place that awakens a curiosity in an adult learner. They reflect on it. They make abstract formulations of what just took place. They test it out in a new experiential situation. That creates a new experience. And this cycle moves on as they go through correcting, refining their understanding of the theory. So go to number 8. So here's another parenting story for showing how adults learn. And in this case, it's a mother. She's in her kitchen. Her 10-year-old son has been upstairs for the last 2 hours, and she's hearing a lot of furniture moving around. And now she's become curious about what he's doing. So she goes up the stairs. She walks to his room. The door is open, and there he is standing looking at the room. And she notices that the room has been cleaned up. It's been rearranged and reorganized. And as she starts to step over to put her arm around her son and tell him how proud she is of him, she catches herself and somehow recognizes that this is a moment that's about him. And that she doesn't need to turn it into her approval. And so she looks at him for a second, looks at the room, and she says, "How do you like it?" And he says, "I like it." And as they stare at it together for a minute or so, she then says, "I noticed you moved a lot of the furniture around." And he says, "Yes, I moved my desk over in front of the window so I can watch the squirrels playing in the trees while I'm doing my homework." And she pauses for a moment. She says, "It's nice, isn't it?" And he nods his head. She walks out of the room. He is still there, savoring what he has done on his own initiative. And she recognizes that that's what is important in that moment, to share the joy he's experiencing in what he's accomplished and not to make it about her approval. And as she walks down the stairs, she says, "I'm going to try that with his older sister." And so if we look at this model again, she had this concrete experience with her son that was somehow new. And she reflected on what she had done that she had never done before. And as she reflected on it and formulated, she really didn't have the words for intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. But she recognized there was something about celebrating with him rather than making it about her approval. And then as we move from the green, this concept of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, she moved to experimenting with his older sister, and then seeing the results of that experiment, and then having that deepen and refine her understanding as we're moving around this adult experiential learning model. There's a refinement of these concepts in theory. So let's go to the next slide. So what I'm going to do now is to give you several examples of how to use the way adults learn in the forums as a way of engaging the students, connecting it with the material that they are learning, and have them in this beginning one actually discover that they already know the information that we're teaching them in their own experience. And one of the ways I do that, in the very first forum in the course, I'll ask them a question. Let me ask you this question first. Who is the historical figure that you most admire for his or her leadership skills? Who is the historical leader that you most admire? And you'll notice that it brings up an experience like Abraham Lincoln or Martin Luther King or someone else that you really admire historically. So it actually creates an experience. And then I say, what are the qualities that made that particular person such an effective leader? So they're already starting to see from their own experience what is leadership and what are the qualities of an effective leader. So then I ask them, and I learned a lot about them in this situation, because so many will say Martin Luther King, so I know social justice is important, or Abraham Lincoln, or they may mention Jesus, and I know that they have strong religious values that are important for me to know when I work with them. And then I'll ask them another question. Name the most effective leader in your own life who has impacted your life the most. And they write these beautiful pieces, tributes to their parents, to their mother, to their father, to a minister at their church, to a teacher that they had that changed their life. And it's so beautiful. The writing starts to flow from them. And then I'll ask, if leadership is influence in service of a common goal, where is it that you lead? Whom do you influence? And again, from their own direct experience, they're identifying concepts about leadership as influence. And then I'll ask him, so what were the traits that made you so effective? And now they're beginning to refine their understanding of now what is leadership, but also that leadership is everyone's business, and that there are traits that they already have of leadership that they've been using in their own life when they're at their best. So we fully engaged the students with the subject matter, with me when I respond to them, and with each other as they share this with each other in the forum. Slide 10. So in applying the Kolb model, these questions at the very beginning of the course create engagement with the subject, with me, and with each other. It makes the topic relevant to them because they're finding it in their own experience. They're finding the subject matter and the concepts from the course already directly from their own experience. By global perspective, I mean that they recognize that this isn't just a course for formal leaders in management and supervisory positions, but that leadership is everyone's business. It's about me and how I influence others, upward, laterally, and downward. And then it triggers the writing in the course because the students begin to write about their own experience, and the writing just flows from them. It starts the process of the writing. And in the process of asking these questions and them responding, we're already introducing a definition of leadership theory and introducing trait theory directly from their own experience. Next slide 11. So that was an example of how I show using the Kolb model by asking questions at the very beginning of the course as a way of evoking the red part of the oval called evoking concrete experience, asking them to reflect on it, and then having them from those experiences abstract out or formulate concepts or theories. Most of the time in our courses, we'll be starting from having them read a chapter or an article. So we actually start from the bottom. you can work with a cold model and enter it from any place. But most of the time in our courses, we'll often enter from the green at the bottom, where we present the theory and concepts first in our reading. So in that case, I'll have them read a piece of information and then move up to the experimentation being describe where you have seen that concept or that theory in your own direct experience in the organizations or in your family. So that creates the concrete experience that connects with the ideas and the theory, and then they reflect on it, and that deepens their understanding, and we're back down again to the abstract concepts that they refine now from their own experience. So let's go to slide number 12, and I'll show you how I construct a forum, which would often be the next forum using the cold model that starts with a reading. So I'll have them read a chapter or an article. So that's the concept or the theory. What's your reaction to the article? And that's the reflection. I'll then say, describe an example from your own life in which you experienced this theory. So that's where you move back to the top, direct experience in my own life. And then I'll say, what new insights did you get from this theory and from seeing how it fits with your own direct experience? So there's a reflection and a refinement of concepts. And then I'll say, apply this theory now to a case study. So that would be the new situation. So here's how I would construct now the next, in screen 13, how I would construct a forum using that approach. So in this case, I've given them the article to read, Confrontation Without Conflict. And the first question in the forum I'll say is, describe the three concepts from the article. So they're describing now the theory. And then I'll say, what's your reaction to this article, Confrontation Without Conflict? And so now I'll have them give a reflection or a reaction to it. The third thing I'll then do is I'll try to connect this to their life. Describe a specific time when you dealt with a conflict in a way similar to what was being suggested here. So now we're at the top of that cycle where the red is, that's the concrete experience of dealing with conflict. And then I'll ask them, what skills were evident in your behavior in this particular situation? So now they're reflecting, and then I'll say, was it a good outcome based on what criteria? How might you have done it differently? That way they start refining their understanding of the article. Go to screen 14. What we're really doing using the cold model is this. We're taking a field of academic knowledge on the one hand and their lived experience on another hand and bringing them together. And when that happens, the lights go on and there's this joy, this passion for learning that happens. And so often the very next day, I'll get a note from a student in the next forum saying, you know, I read that article on these 3 steps for dealing more effectively with confronting without conflict. And I was able to use it the very next day and produce new results, new insights, new way of being in the workplace. So there's this excitement that develops when we bring the field of knowledge together with these rich lived experience of our adult learners that creates this passion to learn. Next slide 15. So summarizing some of the benefits of this kind of experiential learning in which we connect, whatever we do, we connect the experience of the learner with the concepts. And we can do it in 2 ways. First, by asking a question sometimes, or we can start at the bottom of that cycle by having them read a particular piece of chapter or an article and then connect it with their own experience. We create confidence. We provide opportunities for reflection. We bring theory together with prior knowledge, and we create enthusiasm for learning when we connect the field with their own experience. Next slide.
Okay, I guess that means it's my turn. Well, I might have to take that off because I can't read it that well, but that's okay. One of the things we really need to do is to have this, what we call faculty engagement, student to instructor contact hour, or instructor to student contact hour. And we sent you several documents over the past few days. I don't expect that you've read them, but I do encourage you to read them because they are useful. One is the faculty engagement document, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and then also the alternative instruction methods AIM document, which we also sent to you. Well, I'm going to go back so I don't get that too far. Hold on. The faculty engagement document is posted on Campus Web, and you can access it after logging into Campus Web. Click on the Faculty tab, and the undergraduate faculty expectations document is located at the bottom right-hand corner, bottom right-hand menu, excuse me, and is listed as a handout. The major points that I want to stress about faculty expectations are: it's important that we engage students as early as possible and to keep them engaged. I don't know that we were the only ones, but this session we had no students that were not engaged in any business or leadership course, and I want to thank each of you for your efforts. We want to provide timely feedback to students. We ask you to strive to do that within 24 hours if possible. I'll come back to that in a second. And within 48 hours at the max. I realize that some of you have a full calendar, full schedule of students, a full list of students. And because I see them, your responses on, at least in the forum section, are rather comprehensive. So I realize that 48 hours is maybe sometimes can't be done either. What I do ask in those circumstances is that you send the students an email, tell them you have their assignments, you're getting to them, you'll work through the process, just so they know that they're not doing something in vain. Give all feedback via Campus Web. This helps you and it helps us in case there's a conflict. We don't like to see conflicts, but there is. So make sure you give all your feedback via Campus Web. Please discourage private email. I know that sometimes that's unavoidable, but we prefer that you do not do that. That's for your protection as much as it is for the students, as much as it is for the universities. Use the forum section to stimulate discussion. Prompt your students to interact with each other. I sent a document of engaging students via online that uses the Socratic method. I don't say that you have to use the Socratic method, but it's there as a helpful tool for you. Use it as a guide to prompt students to reflect more deeply on their forum posts. One of the things that I think each of us knows is that we constantly hear that employers are getting students that cannot think critically. And that's what the forum section is for. And I really encourage you to promote critical and creative thinking. I'm going to move forward here. Okay, I want to come back here just for a second. I talked to you about the AIM document, alternative instruction methods By the way, that is not a document that is unique to Union. We got that from another small university in Pennsylvania, and we have made some modifications to it. What that shows you is that there are different ways to reach this student to contact, instructor to student contact hour ratio. What you can see on the slide is that we have a 4 credit hour course. There must be 50 faculty to student contact hours, and a 3 credit course is 37.5 hours. That is based on the Carnegie hour. There is an initiative in higher education in the United States to move away from the Carnegie hour, but don't expect that to happen overnight. We've struggled with it here. I think we're going to look at it, but I don't think we'll see anything for a year or so. So use those things. Make use of our library to find videos. Try to find textbooks that have additional instructor material. McGraw-Hill and John Wiley are two publishers that normally have additional instructor material, such as PowerPoint slides, videos, sample lectures, sample tests, and things of that nature. I know we ask a lot of you, and I appreciate everything everyone does. I'm only mentioning these things to try to help you the best I can and the best we can to make your job as easy as possible. Now we're going to move on to slide 18. And these are the ways we meet the requirements of the forums: faculty lectures, written audio or video. I do audio and video lectures to supplement my lecture notes that I have posted on Campus Web. You all may not have those that opportunity, but if you do, I certainly encourage you to do that. PowerPoints that we talked about, videos combined with or without forum interaction, and then case studies within the forums. These are the primary ways, as the slide says. There are others. If you have ideas or thoughts, please share them with us. As you know, you've each been invited to join my groups on Campus Web, and we're going to use that more and more so we can interact with each other and find out what works, what we need to refine, and what our best practices ought to be.
May I add something, Professor Reed?
Yeah, right, go ahead.
What I've done that has been helpful is that I have a forum on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
There's your slide.
No, I don't need a slide. Oh, I see. It is on a slide. So I have a forum on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I use the Monday forum to ask the students what, as a way of finishing the previous week. I'll ask them, what was the most important thing you learned last week? And then I'll ask them, what was the most difficult or most confusing concept or theory or idea from last week? It allows us to see what's really working and allows me to then give some additional feedback when I haven't been as clear as I could have been on some important concept from the previous week. So that would be Monday. On Wednesday, I'll connect the most important part of the reading they're doing for this next week with their own experience by asking a question. Where have you experienced whatever it is we're reading this week in your own personal or professional life? And then Friday, I'll do another forum in which they apply what they have, the most important thing that they're learning, to a specific case study. So I've used several aspects of the Kolb model in these 3 forums each week, and it seems to have worked really well for me to increase the student-faculty contact hours.
All right, here's your next slide.
So many of you are probably teaching this way already. You may know as much about the Kolb model as any of us. You may be been using the Kolb model all along and didn't know it was the Kolb model. but we just simply wanted to share something that we're particularly enthusiastic about is one of the best practices for engaging our students in the subject matter, engaging them with their peers in the course, and engaging them with us as their instructor.
Okay, we spent about the last 40 minutes talking. What questions do you have? And let us know what you think about the webinar. We like to do this maybe once a quarter. Would be nice to be able to do it before the holidays, but I think that's probably pushing it. So we're thinking about that, maybe doing something in January. Regardless, what questions and concerns do you have? You can either voice them.
Reactions, yeah, reactions.
Right,
too.
right. You can either voice them or put it in the chat.
This is Angela. I think that this has been very helpful because we're so spread out, and it's good to see, what other people are, to share what other people are doing, and also to share ways in which we can, in which we can make our work much more richer. My question is, when students post in the forum, I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to respond to each post, to each student's post. What is the best way to approach this? Because what I've been trying to do in the past is to respond to each post, but I think I may be missing something in doing that.
You want to take that? Yeah. Why don't you take that, please?
I always respond to their initial post because it allows me to affirm the direction they're going, give some correction, connect more closely the concept with their own experience, because most of these they're sharing their experience related to the concept or theory that they're learning. And then I let it flow, because I'm having them respond to at least 2 other students within the next 2 days. And then I'll check periodically on what's happening in these dialogues and interject something when I see it's important, or I see people aren't giving correction in a way that's appropriate, so I'll monitor. I won't be responding to obviously I won't be responding to every post, because many times there's 15 posts to every initial post a student has made, so it would be overwhelming.
I just like to tag on to that. I think that's a good rule of thumb to use. But if you have a smaller number of students, you probably are better off responding to each post, because that helps keep them engaged and maybe helps also stimulate what they have to say. Rick Chaffee's classes, probably because of him or anything else, tend to fill up. So he normally has 12 to 15 students in most of his classes. That's not the norm for most of us. A lot of us have 4 to 6. I have 2 right now. I have 4 in one and 5 in another. So in those cases, I answer every post, and every student who responds to the original poster, I answer them as well. Now, sometimes it could be simply something, thank you for keeping the conversation going, if there's nothing new added. But if there's something new added, and I think it's incumbent upon me to come back and address that. But I think the rule of thumb that Chaffee gave you is probably a good rule to follow, especially when you have a lot of students.
This is Bob, and I tend to have smaller classes, and I find that if the conversation is flowing without me, I don't insert myself in unless there's an opportunity to A, correct something, or B, add something like a good personal example. whenever they're on a roll, you want to let them go. And I try and encourage the students to interact with each other. But often, and it depends on the classes. In leadership classes, they do that very effectively. Economics, not so much. So I have to kind of push them back with some additional questions. What about this information that you just looked at? Have you looked at it this way or that way? So it really kind of depends on the nature of the class. When you have bigger classes, that's absolutely wonderful because they do tend to be interactive. But with smaller classes, you've got to be more proactive, no question.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you. And I think you also have to do in the smaller classes, not all the time, but in some, you have to do a lot of prompting. Do we have any other questions?
This is Mary. I would be curious to add to the discussion how folks handle when posts are due and when replies are due. I've tried it a couple of different ways, and it seems like a challenge to get students to post and then reply, and then if it's due Sunday, I go and add to it, and they're not going back to that conversation.
Chaffee, you want to take that?
Yes, what I do is, for instance, I'll have a required post by Monday, and they need to have responded to 2 others by Wednesday. I'll have a forum on Wednesday where the initial post is due that day, and they need to have responded to 2 people by Friday. I'll have a post on Friday. They need to have an initial post on Friday by Friday evening, and to respond to 2 others by Sunday when their weekly papers are in. So that's the way I typically set it up, and they get used to that rhythm, and it seems to work quite well.
That answer your question?
So I don't usually on the forums, it looks like you can use 2 places where you put in dates. I don't use the first one. It gets messy. So I use the second one and use that as the due date. And then in the instructions say, this is the due date, post to 2 other students within the next 2 days. So I don't use both places where you can enter dates. I only use the second date in the forums, and that's worked the best. I know Jonathan has tried a lot of things too, and he does that same thing, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Want to ask everybody in general. This semester, I instituted a forum that was linked to web pages, and so far so good. But I was wondering if anybody else had tried anything like that, and what experiences they had with it.
What do you mean by web pages?
I went out when I designed these, and I found either websites or specific web topics pages on the area associated with the reading material, and basically put the links in, and people have to go out to the links, look at the material, and respond and reflect on it.
Yes, I do that a lot. Yes, that's really, I found that very valuable, and I use videos often from YouTube that are that really speak to the topic very well.
Professor,
Yeah, I do a couple YouTubes.
Professor Chaffee, can I ask you a question or ask you a favor? How about posting that on our group page?
Okay.
Do we have other questions?
So let me just give an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people have watched Chamberlain's speech to the 20th Maine from the movie Gettysburg. That inspiring speech to the deserters. And I use that as part for transformational leadership. And then I'll also use, my wife is harassing me. And then I'll use, I have a dream speech, or I use Nelson Mandela's speech when he got out of prison. Those are wonderful ways to teach various concepts, theories, and experience, connect to people's experience.
The Union Library has a number of videos. I don't know if you get some videos from her or not, but certainly I encourage you to make use of that, of the video, of the library. Person you can contact is Susan Whitehead, SUSAN Whitehead, no funny spelling there, at myunion.edu. She's a research librarian, and she really is very responsive.
Yes.
Any other questions? Well, I want to thank each of you for attending. I mentioned we will upload this to our My Groups page. I want to thank Professors Chaffee and Chapman for putting this presentation on. And I certainly thank each of you for attending. Look forward to talking to you. We look forward to hearing your suggestions for a next webinar, and also interacting with you, what works, what doesn't, what we need to fix, what we don't need to fix. So thank you very much for your attendance, and good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night to everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye, Len.
bye.
Bye, Angie.